Welcome to the Global Discussion, discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name is Simon Hodgkins, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Louise McDonnell. You're very welcome to the podcast, Louise. Let's begin by asking you to introduce yourself, a little bit about your journey, and a little bit about what you focused on to our worldwide audience. Over to you, Louise.
Thank you so very much for inviting me to be on your podcast, Simon. So my name is Louise McDonnell. I am a marketer. I'm based in the west of Ireland, just in a little village just outside a little village of Enniscrone in County Sligo. And from here, I run my business. So I have I have clients all over the world. I run a company called Media, and there's two arms of the business. I have an agency, so people outsource their social media marketing to our agency, and I have an academy. And so for those who can't yet afford to outsource, I train them how the process that we follow ourselves, which gets results fast on social media. So in terms of my journey into where I am today, I studied actually languages and marketing in college. I started working in Dublin in the 1990s, and I kind of fell into this opportunity of working in digital marketing by total fluke. I was determined to get a job in marketing, and I saw a marketing graduate's position in this company called EDI Factory. I assumed that it was a factory that produced a product, that made a product called EDI. And I went, and I don't know how I got the job because I knew nothing about the company. Actually, I do remember looking up their website, but actually not really understanding a thing on the website. And I went along to the interview and I got it. And the first day I walked into the office, I walked in and I was like, where's the factory? And there was no factory. EDI is electronic data interchange. I found myself, I was in my 20s, very young. I was the only female in the company. And not only that, everybody else in the company were all techies. So they all spoke in what I call the X's and O's language. And that's why I didn't understand their website, because when they spoke in X and O's, nobody understood what they were on about. So for the first 6 months in that job, I was absolutely I couldn't leave the job because I didn't want it on my CV, but I found it so difficult because I really was struggling. I didn't really know what the company did. At that time, the internet, like nobody was using the internet for business. EDI was all transacted over private networks. So this was a world that I had ventured into that I knew nothing about. And my friends used to say, they'd meet me and they'd say, did you figure out what that company did yet? That was the opening conversation. And I didn't realize at the time how fortunate I was, because the techies were lovely. They would never do anything for me, but they said, we'll show you how to do it. You do it yourself. And so I learned so much about the paperless office. I learned all about electronic invoicing, all the ways that you can send documents electronically, how you can integrate them between one system and another. And I stayed there for 7 years. And in terms of my growth during that 7 years, I used to go around the country in Ireland giving talks to community groups and business organizations on what the internet was and how you could use it for business. So that's how long ago it was. But what I did find during that time is that I had a great aptitude for understanding the technical stuff once it was explained to me. And then what I would do is I would then write it in plain English so that the customer and potential customer could understand it. So I could rewrite the website, rewrite the brochures, and speak to people in ordinary English so they could understand what the problem was and what the solution was. And I suppose that's what I do to this day. I love looking at the technicalities behind how things work, like how Google works, how search works, how ads work, how Facebook ads work, how social media works, how content works, how the algorithms are constantly changing. We'd be constantly tuning into that. I love understanding that and then being able to explain it to people in a non-technical way so that they can also understand how to use it. And so that was my initial journey into digital marketing. I've been working in various roles ever since, but I founded my own business in 2009. And I started off training and coaching, and then I launched my agency. And so in 2019, I launched my first book, Facebook Marketing, The Essential Guide. And then 2000, God, what year is it? So this is the third year of my planner. So this is the 2023 social media content planner. And yes, so I have to say, yeah, things are great. I really enjoy what I do. And there's not a day that I don't sit down at 9 o'clock at my desk, and I can't wait to get going.
Wow, there's not many people say that, Louise. So that's great. And thanks for taking us on that little journey. Your book, I know, has been around for quite a number of years now. And it sort of comes out, and it's always topical at this sort of time of recording at the start of a year, because it's sort of how to plan your year of social media. It's a really great compendium of information. And I know it's sort of a distillation of everything that you learn, that you know, and it's updated, etc. So that's great. And something else that you said that I thought was really nice is you have the agency side, but that you also have this academy, which is if you're not quite ready for an agency, we can actually help you as the individual to learn how to do some of this yourself until you're at that position when you scale. And that must be so helpful for small businesses.
Yeah, it is. So the academy, there are members in my academy from all over the world. So the way I organized is that we have live training sessions every month. So we ask our members, what do you need help in? So if there's 10 members that need help in Canva, we'll do a Canva. So we'll do, so last month we did about 7 live sessions. And then we record everything we do. So there's a training library. So if you come on and you say, well, actually, I want a session on LinkedIn ads, we're like, oh yeah, we did one a few weeks ago. There you go. So as a member, you've unlimited access to everything, and you get access to a private group. So if you're really stuck on something, just post it in the group and we'll respond. So me or one of the girls, I have 3 girls on my team. And so one of us will respond and give an answer to somebody. So yeah, our mantra very much, and this is very much part of me, is to always go the extra mile. So we always go the extra mile. So when somebody comes to work for me, that's the first thing we say: you go the extra mile. You always go the extra mile to help somebody. And so the academy is really it is wonderful for businesses, because I think a lot of businesses struggle because if they're they tend to be working by themselves. They tend to not really know what they need to do with social media. Some of them they're lacking in confidence, or they have this kind of stop-start approach because they get all motivated and they don't get these amazing results instantly, so then they give up. And what they don't realize is that social media just isn't something, a tick box that you should do because everybody else is doing it. That if you do it correctly, it can really transform your bottom line. And that's what I'm really passionate about. And I say to people when they come on a training course with me, I was like, it's okay to not like social media. I don't want to even get you to like it. That's not my concern. My concern is that you spend the least amount of time getting the best possible results. And that is very possible when you're in business. You don't have to share anything about yourself you don't want to. You don't have to want to, be on social media all the time. You just need to be strategic about it. But you do need to have a strategy, and you do need to have a budget, and you do need to give it time.
I love that a lot, because I think all too often businesses or solo entrepreneurs or even large businesses fall into the trap of looking at the influencers and the people with the big followings and thinking that's the way to success. But actually, that's not a strategy. You need to really sit down, don't you, and say, well, what am I trying to achieve here? And as you say, if you can invest the right amount of time to actually produce the results you're looking for, that's what you should be doing. And there's a difference, isn't there, between business marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing. It's not all the same.
Not at all. And in fact, sometimes I also say I met a business lady recently, and I was kind of saying to her, with all due respect, I said, don't let your ego get in the way of your business goals. So she told me she was targeting who her target audience were. They were managers in small to medium-sized businesses. And she went on to TikTok and she started doing these videos which were targeting young employees. And she was getting she's like, oh my God, I was getting hundreds of thousands of views in this matter of weeks. And I'm like, they're never going to help you achieve your goals. So you're only wasting your time. You're better off to create content which is going to appeal to your target audience. And if you get a few hundred views or a few thousand views, but they're the right views, that's going to be more effective.
Yeah, aligning the strategy with the correct target audience. And I couldn't agree more, Louise. I think that's invaluable for people to hear, because it falls down what you're describing there with that lady you're speaking to. It's sort of the vanity metrics, isn't it? It's the dopamine hit. You feel good because something's working, but it's not actually producing results. It's just noise. I don't want to be harsh, but
Exactly. And I think sometimes the small businesses, they fail to understand the benefit of social media, because when they look to how social media is covered in the media, in the mainstream media, they tend to cover, oh, here's an influencer on YouTube with 5 million viewers or 5 million followers. And I'm like, so what? You know, for businesses, whether they're doing their social media themselves or whether they're outsourcing to an agency like us, that means nothing. What matters is what your bottom line is, what your cost per result is, how much do you invest, what was your return, what was your return on ad spend, you know, and what are you going to do the next time, you know?
and I think if you look at social media today, and you know this better than anybody, but it must be hugely complicated and confusing for somebody entering social media today for the first time, because whether it's Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, or you mentioned Canva, for example. If some of people in the academy wanted to learn how to use Canva this month, but it's not just using the tools, it's creating the content, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, yeah, I can imagine how, that it can be overwhelming, so what I have done is I've broken down each of the steps that I believe people need to follow into 6 distinctive steps. And so I deliver my training in the academy under those steps. They are also the steps that we follow when we start working with a client in our agency, so that we standardize everything across the board, how we work with our agency clients and how we train people on how to use social media. And so I think when people feel overwhelmed, I think a good, if you have a system that they can follow, well, then it takes away that overwhelm, because they have a starting point, and then they have, the steps that they can follow, to get results. And so they're the 6 steps that you tend to see in everything that I do. They're in my training, they're in my planner, they're in my original book. Like, strategy never dates. Strategy absolutely never dates. So those 6 steps. So step 1 is the foundations. And I also actually say to people, there are 3 types of people that come to me for help. Okay. There's the people that stick their heads in the sand, that don't do anything, but they know they should be doing something. Okay. Then there's the people that come to me that are really busy on social media, showing up all the time, but they're not getting results. Okay. And then I have the third type of person who comes to me that only wants to show up when they've something to sell and just want to pay because they've got no followers. And they don't really get results either. Okay, so when it comes to my 6-step system, what I say to people is, if you fall into the first category of people that sticks your head in your sand and ignores everything, you need to start at step 1. Actually, everyone needs to start at step 1, but everybody tends to skip step 1 and step 2. So step 1 is the foundations. It's setting your goals. It's being very clear, like what you want to achieve by using social media for your business or for your organization. So what are the specific goals? And I mean SMART goals, so they're specific, they're measurable, there's a time frame, all of that, right? So it's how many sales of whatever product or service do you want to get in a certain period of time? And that's really important, because you have to keep going back to your goals to determine, are you on course? Are you achieving what you wanted to achieve? Or why are you there in the first place? So step 1 is setting your goals. It's also profiling your customers. And most businesses just don't do this enough. They come to me and they'll go, oh, well, my customers, age between 25 and 45, and I'm like, oh, so no, I'm not in that customer bracket, but I certainly would buy that product. So most businesses haven't gone deep enough in terms of profiling the customers, that in terms of demographics, they're not accurate enough. But more so than that, like, have they really figured out what the pain points are? So what is motivating that customer to move forward on the customer journey? And so that is a big part of what I do. I really help people delve really deep into profiling their customers in a way that they can write ad copy or blogs or emails in a way that's going to get their attention because they understand the pain points, they understand what's motivating that customer. So that's all still in step one. Step 1, 2 is also about like figuring out what budget you're going to spend to help you achieve your goals. So if you achieve your goals, and that means that you generate, 100,000 euros, well, what are you willing to spend to achieve that goal? Step 2 then is all about optimization. So optimization is about optimizing your website and your social media channels. Again, the people that are really busy on social media but not getting results tend to have skipped step 1, which is the planning, and step 2, which is the optimization. Okay, so optimization is really that when somebody comes to your social media channels or to your website, that they understand why you're unique, why you're different, why they should do business with you, what products or services you're offering. Now that sounds really, really basic, but that is actually the number one reason that ads, emails, promotions don't work, is that when you drive people back to the website or to the source or to the landing page, it's not good enough, and it doesn't convert them. So that is step 2, that's optimization. Step 3 is content. So, okay, step 3 is all about showing up regularly with your social media content, and the people who show up week in, week out get better results than the people who show up sporadically or don't show up at all. Okay, so we tend to break down the different categories of content. I've broken all that down in my planner. I've given 95 different ideas for content to help people show up regularly. The content needs to link to step 2, which is the optimization, which is how you're unique, how you're different. It also needs to link to step 1, which is your goals, what you want to achieve. So you're not just there producing content for the sake of it. So remember I said earlier on, there's 3 categories of people. So the people who are showing up regularly, but haven't got a plan, haven't got the goals, haven't got the optimization, they tend to be busy producing content, but not achieving anything. And that's why, right? So that is step 3. Step 4 then is targeting for ads. So step 4 and step 5 are ads, because you can't depend on organic reach. You just cannot depend on it anymore. You might put a post out on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever you're using, and it might reach, if it's a nice awareness post, it could well perform quite well. But then when you put a post up and you're trying to promote a product, a service, a lead magnet, or a promotion, whatever it is, it will perform like, abysmally generally. And so what I say to people is that, if you don't reach enough people, you're just not going to generate sales. So step 4 is all about targeting. It's about understanding how to target. It's about understanding how to target based on demographics. It's also and by interests, and also by retargeting. So being able to understand your warmer audiences, the people on your website, the people who watch your videos, the people who interact with you regularly on your social media channels. Step 5 then is about running ads. Okay, so again, that's actually, there's so many businesses that I would do coaching for. They come to me and they say, Louise, I had a business, and they said to me, Louise, I'm spending 500 euros on ads a month and I'm not getting any results. So just let me have a quick look. And within under 2 minutes, I was like, because you're running the wrong ads. Okay, so there's like 13 different types of ads you can run, and depending on which one you select, you're gonna get a different result. And if you're not using the right objective, then you're not going to get the results that you desire. Then there's all the targeting, of course, and then there's the placements, and there's all about your budget optimization, and there's all about making sure you're putting your budget in the right place, and the timing of your ads. So there's quite a lot in running ads, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram. Okay, but it is essential. And a little story I like to tell is, I had a guy who came to me. He was in my academy, and he said, Louise, I've done everything you told me. I followed all the steps and I ran a campaign, but I didn't get any sales. And so I said, okay. I said, let's hop on a call because I'm intrigued. I want to know why you didn't get sales. And so I looked at the content he had created, the audience he had targeted. I looked at everything and I said, yeah, everything's really good. I said, the problem is your budget. I said, you've spent too little money, right? So he only spent like, I don't know, 20 euros or something like that. I said, you just didn't reach enough people. So I figured out an example to so that I could explain it to him. I said, if your social media ad has a click-through rate of 2%, which is, it's about average, it's not wonderful. So that means you put the ad up and 2% of every people that see it click through. And if your website has a conversion rate of 2%, so he had an e-commerce store. If your e-commerce store also has a conversion rate of 2%, which is quite low, but his website did have that, I said, you need to reach 25,000 people to get 10 sales. So you're never going to get that organically ever. And you're not going to get it by spending 20 or 30 euros. You need to spend more money. And what you need to figure out is what the click-through rate is on the ad. So can you improve the click-through rate? Because if you can improve the click-through rate from 2 to 3% on your ad, and the conversion rate from 2 to 3% on your website, all of a sudden, if you reach 25,000 people, now you've 22 sales. Okay, so you can see the difference there. So it's about knowing what ads to run, and then which step 6 is interpreting the results. So straight we're going in and saying, what is the click-through rate? If the click-through rate is low, it means you need to change your ad creation, your ad description, potentially your targeting. You need to test and see how you get that click-through rate up. If your website's not converting, I had a lady, we had a click-through rate of 8% on her ads, and we were all high-fiving each other, in our agency, going, wow, that's a super ad, well done us, 8% click-through rate, right? And then there was no sales on the ad. And so the client came back and she was like, we've got no sales, that ad's not working. I was like, no, the ad is working, but your website's not working. So I said, show me your website, let's pull it apart. And we got her to make a few changes. And literally the minute we did that, it was like a switch, the sales started coming through. So they're the 6 steps. So the step 1 is your foundations, your planning, setting your goals, understanding your customer, setting your budget. Step 2 is optimizing, because nothing else is going to work until you get the optimization done. Step 3 is about planning your content. You show up consistently. Step 4 then is targeting, really understanding your targeting for your paid advertising. Step 5 is about running those ads. And step 6 is about understanding what's working and what's not working. And you never wait till the end of a campaign. You're watching the whole time and you're tweaking to make sure you're getting the best possible results.
Listen, that's a wonderful summary of a masterclass for anybody listening to this episode. So thank you for sharing that, Louise. It's really, really good advice for people. And, having lived through some of those steps in various iterations in different areas of my career, I just know that there are people listening who are going, I'm never going to figure all that out. But that's why you have the academy. That's why you have the agency, right? Because sometimes you need help with this stuff. You need somebody that can understand that. And when you're describing that, that those couple of examples that you give, where you said, number 1, it's not just about ego. Getting lots of likes and views on TikTok is one thing, but if it's not converting sales on your website, what's the purpose? And that's sort of back to step 1 and step 2. And then the other example where everything seems okay, but the budget that you've assigned to it is so small, it's never actually going to materialize in the click-through rates or the conversion rates of your site. So it's almost as though you have to be this sort of head of engineering, of a Formula 1 team or an electric vehicle Formula 1 team, where you've got to say, well, are the wheels right? Is this right? Has it got the right fuel in it? Are the batteries charged, or whatever it is, to make sure that these things works? And I suppose that's where your expertise comes in, Louise, for these companies.
Yeah, and another thing that's really important is that, showing up consistently is a bit boring, but it works. And on social media, it takes time to gain traction. So for example, we have a client, we started working with them last October, and they were kind of doing these in-house promotions, and come, let's say, November. And now they had a really good Christmas. They did really well, but they were disappointed with the turnout at the events that they ran. And so they had an event last week, which was like the most successful event that they ever had. And what I was explaining to them was, I said, is the promotion that we did last October, is paying off now. I said, if you had never done any of the promotion last October, November, December, and you had started to run some promotion 2 weeks before the event that you ran just now, you would have been disappointed as well. So I always say to people, when you're paying, in terms of paid promotion, there's 3 benefits. There's the direct benefits. So you run an ad, you get the direct sales. Fantastic, great direct benefit. You figure out what your return on ad spend is. There's the indirect benefit. So it's, if you're selling, let's say if I'm running an ad for my academy, I'll always pick up a few agency clients. So that's the people who don't want what you're promoting in the ad, but they contact you for something else. Right? So there's always an indirect benefit. But then there's a future benefit. And that's what people fail to that's why showing up consistently works, is because there's always somebody who's going, oh gosh, I really need that, but I just don't need it now. And so they're the people who are screenshotting or saving the posts or beginning to follow you or beginning to interact with you. They're not ready yet, but they're watching you, and they'll wait until they are ready, to buy your product or your service. And so the higher the ticket item, the longer that can be. So say, for example, you're selling shoes, right? And you look trustworthy, and the price is right, and the customer knows the brand. Like the customer journey there is quite short. But let's say you're selling a new kitchen, which might cost somebody 20,000 euros or 30,000 euros. They'll be watching you for years before they, it'll be that whole process of figuring out, will we get a new kitchen? Will we do it this year? But they'll be keeping an eye on the on their favorite kitchen manufacturers for years before that happens. So yeah. So that's why showing up consistently works, because you're reaching people at different stages of the customer journey all the time.
I love that. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that insight, Louise. I want to change gear a little bit now, because I think we've shared some great advice there. We've explained a little bit about your journey, and I don't want to forget that when you started that career, you kind of took weeks to figure out, I'm not even sure what I do here or what the company does, but it sounds like over 7 years, it became a great training ground for you over the 7-year period. And to then go on and form your agency and write the books and have the academy now, it's really fantastic to hear that story. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about yourself now, if I can, Louise, because I'd like to share a little bit about our guests on the show with our audience. And the first thing I'd like to ask is how you take on board information. Now, that could be reading for pleasure, it could be reading for business, it could be listening to audiobooks, it could just be meeting people and having a chat, or it could be podcasts. I'm not sure. But when I ask you that question, what springs to mind?
I was thinking about you asking me this question, and I actually very much like to learn by doing. So I will listen to other people's opinions, but I pretty much like to I kind of like to figure it out myself. And I think there's a lot of hype and rubbish that goes on in my sector. I mean, I've taken the time and gone to lots of different events and come away going, oh God, So not saying that all events are not great, but I think, there's nothing like being stuck in the middle of working with your clients, regularly tuning into what's happening. And then, I do read I suppose I read a lot of articles online. I'm not a huge reader in terms of novel. I just don't have time. I listen to podcasts. I haven't listened to one in months and months, so I can't say that I will sit down and list off my podcasters. But I learn a lot by doing. I love questioning. And I love interrogating. I love interrogating something. I love, just watching to see what's happening, and because it's always changing. So I had this new
So
theory.
you kind of like building things and adjusting the direction while you're in flight, and you like to try things and test things, and you're also scouring for new information, and you're interrogating that information and trying it in real time. Plus, I suppose you've got this breadth of customers from different aspects of business, different aspects of life, different parts of the world. So you're building up this knowledge bank all the time, aren't you? And then that's even on top of the video knowledge bank that you're creating in the academy. So you kind of have a lot of touch points for information coming in, I suppose, through the agency and the academy.
Yeah, and one of my other things that I say to the clients, whether they're agency or academy, is ask me any question you want. Just, I love questions because I learn from them as well. I learn how people think. I learn what they understand, what they don't understand, and that just makes me better at explaining things. So yeah,
That's great. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, Louise, is there any particular person or persons that you admire that have inspired you along the way? Or is it a kind of person, maybe a certain character trait that you like?
I really admire people that have the courage to run their own businesses, and I admire people who really put themselves on, put their own themselves on the line just to employ other people, and that's what I admire. I really admire people with the determination to do that, and so they would be my heroes, rather than anybody else.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I know you kind of like people that get up and get it done, right? People that can actually make a difference. And yeah, there's nothing better, I suppose, than being able to create a business, create income, create jobs for other people. That's a wonderful thing to do and to be involved in.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about advice, Louise, in a similar vein? So obviously you share an awful lot of advice, whether it's through your books or through your businesses. But is there any advice that you've picked up along the way? It could be back in your early childhood. It could be something from last week. Or if not, is there any advice that you find yourself constantly having to remind people of and you think, look, people really need to know this? So when I ask you about advice, what springs to mind?
I suppose advice that I appreciated was, I suppose, learning when you start your own business, it's very hard to say no. So you say yes to everything because you're just, you just want the business, you just don't care. And I think somebody said to me one day, it's okay to say no, and so I'd be afraid of letting people down, or, and then you just have to get to the point you say, no, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or that doesn't serve me anymore. So I think learning to say no and to pick and choose what you do, and to use your time effectively that way. The advice that I have given the most in my career for over all the years, it's just getting the basics right. It's just getting those simple basic steps right. That's what works. And another piece of advice I give people is it's better done than perfect, because I know lots of people when they're starting out, or even lots of larger organizations, sometimes they're just petrified to actually share anything on social media in case it's not right, in case it's not perfect. And so there's one client, when she came back to me, and I thought it was wonderful. I kept saying to her, just do your best, put it out there. It might not be perfect, but it's the best you can do right now, and if it's the best you can do, it's good enough. And I said, I bet you it is good enough. You're just going to be too hard on yourself. So she said that she sat at her computer, and she was frozen. And then she said, I had that, well, feck it moment. Anyone who's not Irish, feck it is just like a term we use. It's not a rude term. It's like a feck it. It's just, so she goes, oh, feck it. I'm just going to do it. So I laughed and I said, well, fair play to you, because it's only by doing that we improve, So I think sometimes you have some social media experts will be coming in and they'll be like, oh no, you can't possibly do this, or you can't possibly do that way. You just do what serves you and make it look as professional as you can, but just do it and improve.
I like that a lot.
Mhm.
I like you mentioned earlier that strategy, if it's a good strategy, it kind of lives, you should use it. And going back to the basics is a little bit about that, what you're talking about, reinforcing the basic principles, whether it's the 6 steps that you mentioned earlier or not. And I think the other thing that you said, which is very good advice, which is learning to say no, or deciding what you're going to say no to, because I suppose it's only through that you can go that extra mile for the people that you've said yes to, because I know that's one of the things that you value very highly in your business, and something that you tell your people that work with you around the world, that we do go the extra mile, but you can't keep going the extra mile if you say yes to everything. You have to decide what you want. And I think that's very good advice. So thank you, Louise, for sharing that.
And actually to tie it into, if I find somebody who is determined, who needs help, who's working hard, it's easy to go the extra mile, because when somebody wants to make progress, you want to help them.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And as you look ahead, as you plan your own business now, you literally write the book on planning your business, planning the year ahead. So I'm asking the question to the right person. But when you look forward for the next 6 to 12 months, what are you hoping to achieve with your businesses, with your books? What does it look like for you? Is there anything on the horizon, or is it more of the same?
So what we have really focused on in the last 6 months in the business has been putting those processes in place to enable us to grow quicker, so that we have standard operating procedures for everything that we do, that everybody who works on my team is following the same process, the same standard. So we've invested a lot in technology, because we're fully remote workforce. So I've only met the girls who work with me once or twice, but in person we would see each other several times a day on Zoom. So it's about making sure that putting the processes in place to enable us to deliver the service consistently, and so that we can grow as quick as as quick as we need to, but in a controlled way.
Yeah, that's great. And do you know what I really love, Louise? I love the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, where you're located in Ireland, you can run this worldwide sort of company with people from around the world in this fully remote environment. And it really works, doesn't it?
It's absolutely wonderful. One of the jobs that I had in my life, I was CEO of a Chamber of Commerce, and we spent so many years looking to attract inward investment into the locality. And where I live it's a quite remote part, and people really, we had to really not to sell the location. The location is amazing, but it's just the distance it is from different places. So remote working kind of is the answer, because if you're a banker, or if you're a graphic designer, or if you're a coder, you can work from anywhere in the world. And so the girls who work for me, I have one girl, two of the girls are based in Ireland, and one of the girls was based in Ireland, but she goes between Ireland and Spain just because she says it's cheaper to live there. So, but I mean, I always say to them, I honestly don't care where you are, as long as you're doing the work, and as long as you keep showing up and do what I need you to do, I don't care where you are. So yeah, so it's wonderful. And I suppose as I have teenage children now, so I'm not going anywhere, but you come in and you think of the day that, maybe we could go and spend a month here and a month there, because I can be anywhere as well.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, you could pretty much run your business quite nomadically from anywhere in the world, and I think that's wonderful. This new sort of future of work that we're all experiencing, it seems to be really working for lots of people, and I think particularly in your area of expertise, it affords you that ability to not only have people working with you from anywhere, but to be able to connect with customers and companies and individuals anywhere on the planet.
That's exactly it. I just feel so lucky. On the first day of the pandemic, of the lockdown in Ireland, which was in March. I don't even know what year it was, because I'm so confused over what years were, because I don't know how many years the pandemic was. I think it was 3 years, was it? The first day of it, the guys arrived to my house to install fiber. So I was the happiest girl in the world. I just stayed in the house and worked round the clock. I never wanted to be as busy as I was during the pandemic, to be honest, because I was doing too much, really. But yeah, I feel very fortunate that I can live where I want to live, and I can provide opportunities to people, and I can serve people.
That's wonderful. The last thing I want to ask you before we wrap up and we run out of time here is there anything else that you'd like to mention that I haven't raised, or anything else you'd like to spotlight? Or if people want to get in touch with you about all the great work that you're doing, and we've talked about lots of different areas you're involved in, where is the best place to send people to connect with you, Louise?
So you can connect, you can use my website. So it's www.sellonsocial.media. So you'll find me on all the leading social media channels, Sell on Social or Sell on Social Media. You'll find me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or you name it, we're there. So, but yeah, my website's probably the easiest place because the social media channels are all linked to from there. So sellonsocial.media.
That's wonderful. Well, look, that brings us lovely to the end of this episode. It's been a pleasure to catch up with Louise McDonnell here on the Global Discussion. So thank you to Louise. Thank you to everybody for watching or listening around the world. Make sure that you follow, like, subscribe, do all the things that we need you to do to help to support this podcast. And also, I hope you'll join me back here for more discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. Thank you, Louise. It's been wonderful to catch up with you again.
Thanks so much, Simon.